Hey guys, what's up? So obviously launched for Cata is today, and I wanted to do a quick little leveling guide for Warlocks. This is not going to be like one of my in-depth leveling guides like I usually would do. I am going to do one, but I want to get through this little launch, and I didn't have time to do a proper one before launch. So give me a couple days and I'll have an actual better one. If you guys do want that, just let me know in the comments. But for now, I wanted to show you 3 specs, one for each of the specializations, and I'm just going to go over the talents on them pretty much. Obviously, the stuff that you do while leveling is kind of common, like make sure you have consumables, you can get a flask, you can get food buffs, you know, if you're engineering, sappers can help you in the open world, grenades, simple things that would just help you level better, you know what I mean? Just kind of help you level faster. And then obviously rested XP is big if you're leveling in the outside world. This is obviously huge. You can click the link below, use my name, Crix, in the code to get it cheaper. But yeah, they updated it to Cata. It's beautiful. It makes you level quick. It has you go the specific routes, has the rep grinds and all that stuff in it too. For a lot of us that are dungeon cleaving, I'll show a demo spec here in a little bit for you guys because I would suggest being demo for obvious reasons in there, which I'll go over. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was leveling 1 to 80. If you haven't leveled 1 to 80, if you're starting now, then I honestly would just go Destro. To be honest, I like Destruction from 1 to 81. I've leveled up to 80 with all 3 specs so far, and Destro was far superior. As you can see from the footage behind me, I think I'm 80 or 81, I'm not sure, but these mobs are dying most of the time before they reach me. So this is how it was from, I think it starts at like level 15. Once you get to level 15, it's just a wrap. Like everything's dead before it reaches you. You have absolutely no problems. Affliction and Demonology are both okay to level with. Affliction's not bad at all. The problem with it leveling from 1 to 80 was the mobs died super fast. So you didn't get a lot of value out of your dots, and you know, you can go multi-dot a bunch of them if you want to. You also don't get a lot of the healing back that you used from Siphon Life because Siphon Life was reworked. And now it only gives you a little bit of health back, very little health back in comparison to like the 40% healing off of every corruption tick or whatever it was in Lich King. So Affliction is still fine, but it is a decent amount slower than Destruction is. Demonology is fine for 1 to 80, but the problem with it is you're like in the middle of Destruction and Affliction in terms of your gameplay. Like you're putting up dots, you're casting Incinerator, Shadow Bolt, or whatever your filler that you decide is. Whereas like Destruction does that way better for the filler, for the hard casting, and then Affliction does the dots way better. So it's like pick and choose which one. So from like 1 to 80, I would suggest going Destruction. As for 80 to 85 or 81 to 85 for me technically, but whatever. As for the actual Cata content, I love Affliction. It is in my opinion far superior to Demonology and Destruction. I know everybody has their tastes. This is just what I prefer. The reason behind that is the mobs have much more health as soon as you hit like 81, 82. So it's like Destruction. It's no longer you're killing them before they reach you. You have no problem as Destruction, but you're stuck in melee, getting meleeed while you're sitting there hardcasting, which sucks because of pushback. I know you have backlash as a talent and stuff, but it's not the end of the world. Versus Affliction, where you actually can just, your dots hit super hard, so you're able to get full value out of your dots and full dot duration sometimes, and you're able to pull 2, 3, 4 mobs at a time and just keep running, akin to kind of like Lich King, but nowhere near how powerful Lich King was. If you remember in Lich King where you could just go pull like 1,000 mobs at one time and never die, that's long gone. You won't be doing that anymore. Demonology and the Cata zones are great. It's still pretty good too. You have your pet carrying, you're doing a lot of damage. I think the thing about it is you're not really, yeah, you can use Felguard to cleave, but you still use Fel Hunter as Demonology because he does so much single target damage. And a lot of the times, Legion Strike, which is your cleave, doesn't do that much damage. Yes, you have Fellstorm, which does do a lot of damage, but when you're fighting, a lot of the time you're fighting in Cata while leveling 1, 2, maybe 3 mobs at a time. Whereas Affliction, when you're fighting those mobs, you can just fully dot 2 of them, soul swap 1 to the 3rd, and you have all 3 mobs just rotting away with your dots, and then your Fel Hunters over there biting them in the ass with Shadow Bite, you know? So it's pretty cool. Demonology is more fun to me leveling, so I think you're fine if you want to be Demonology personally, but I just think in terms of like speed leveling or strength or anything, I like Destro from 1 to 80 or 81, whatever, and then when it ups the difficulty when you're in a Cata land, I'd like to go Affliction for that one. As for dungeon cleaving, Demonology is far superior to anything else you could ever possibly imagine. The AoE damage is absurd. Affliction and Destro come absolutely nowhere near Demonology when you are dungeon cleaving, considering you are just, say you're in Blackrock Cavern and you're sitting there pulling everything in the world, and you have meta, you have Fellstorm, you have, you know, Emo Aura, you have move while you're hellfiring, which is very big because if you're going in a hurry, you can hellfire while you're moving. So your tank is dragging all these damn mobs, and then you're just able to hellfire while you're running, and you're damaging these mobs, whereas Affliction, you need to stop and Seed of Corruption, or even worse, Destruction, you're Rain of Firing, which is ass. So you can Hellfire both of those specs as well, but you can't do it while you're moving. Plus, Demonology has 30% increased damage from Cremation on your Hellfire. So it's just, Demonology is just hard carrying dungeon cleaving. Anyway, that's my breakdown of the 3 specs. Obviously, this is my opinion. You can play whatever you want. I literally don't care what you play. This is your car. Build it however you want. Drive it however you want, okay? So to go over the specs, this is the Destruction spec I would run. This is at level 79, obviously. This is pretty much almost all the destruction. I'm not going to go over each talent because it's, you know, common sense. You have to have 31 points into a tree in order to go to the next one anyway, which means you're taking most of the talents. The talents that I wouldn't take is Improved Searing Pain, because you're not Searing Pain much at all. You do Searing Pain sometimes while you're leveling, but it is very, very far off. Most of the time you're opening with the Soulfire, immolating and conflagging, and then that mob is dead. I'm not even kidding. Oh, and maybe you have the Shadow Burn, which is OP, right? Outside of that, you're not really going to be Searing Painting that often, so I don't take the talent. Aftermath, I don't really care too much about. The Rain of Fire portion of it is garbage. You don't care about it, but the Conflag has a 100% chance to daze. That's kind of nice. If you want to take this, you definitely can. I would just take 2 points out of Soul Leech or wherever you want to take them and put them into there. Or you can just do it anyway because you have extra points, you know. Or next, I don't take Nether Protection just because I don't care about it that much. You can take it if you want. And then that's pretty much everything. I'm taking everything else in the tree. My remaining points go into Dark Arts because this is going to make your... Well, you have two options. You use your Imp or you use your Fell Hunter. If you're using your Fell Hunter, which does more single target damage, this is going to help by giving him 15% more damage on a Shadow Bite. Or you can take Imp, which I like because of Empowered Imp. Every time your Imp firebolts, you have a 4% chance to cause your next Soulfire to be instant cast, which is pretty nice. The only thing about this is a lot of the times, I'm not kidding, my Imp maybe gets one firebolt off, if that, on the mobs before they're dead. So sometimes I don't even run this talent. I'd put these talents elsewhere, and then I would just go run your Fell Hunter the whole time. That's completely up to you. That's whatever you want to do. But if you're doing that, remove these 2 points. You have to put 1 point somewhere up here, like, I don't know, there. Drop these out there, and then you're freed up the points and just don't use Imp. Or if you are using Imp, then, you know, use Imp. Your remaining points, I just go, like I said, Dark Arts, and then I put 1 here in Fell Synergy just to heal my pet. That's about all it's for. And then as you level up, wherever you want to put your talents. Corruption's not a bad one. If you're continuing to use Destro, of course, after 85. Corruption's not a bad one. The Agony's not a bad one because you actually get really good solid value out of the Agony. You can also throw it the rest 2 points into there if you want or whatever. I do like this because even as Destro, your Immolate hits hard. Your Corruption doesn't hit too hard, but it is pretty nice. So I still use this talent. Yeah, that's about it. For the glyphs on it though, obviously Chaos, you kind of don't really have a lot of options. You go Chaos Bolt, Conflag's mandatory. Chaos Bolt, I wouldn't say is mandatory, but you do Chaos Bolt. A lot of the times, like when you're leveling pre-80, it's like, you're not getting a Chaos Bolt on somebody in your first mob. Like you are, like I said, you're going to open with a Soulfire or maybe like a Soul Burn. So you get your instant cast Soulfire and then you're going to Immolate and then you're going to Conflag and that mob's literally almost dead, or use Shadow Burn to kill him. And then with Conflag still on cooldown, you're going into the next mob. That's when I would end up using Chaos Bolt, especially because you have Backdraft up, and Backdraft is now the reduction on your Chaos Bolt as well. So then you get to take that Backdraft into the next mob and then Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, whatever. I say Soulfire, it's important because you have improved Soulfire, which whenever you use Soulfire, it increases your damage done by 8%. So I just open with Soulfire. I will 9 times, it's on cooldown. Soul Burn is, what is the cooldown? 45 seconds. I will Soul Burn almost every time when it's off cooldown. It's really easy to do. There's no reason why you shouldn't. 45-second cooldown. If you use this, I have a macro that's just like pound show tooltip, drop a bar / cast Soul Burn, drop a bar / cast Soulfire. And then it's my macro, and I just open with that every 45 seconds, every single time. The great thing about this is you don't really have to slow down for shards with the soul shard change because you can soul harvest to get all your shards back. But more importantly, when you kill somebody with your Shadow Burn, it gives you your 3 soul shards, or it gives you your 3 soul shards back. This is what happens when I don't script a video. I talk fast, I mumble over my words, but I don't have the time to actually do a proper one. I'll do it later. Anyway, so a lot of times you will be using Shadow Burn every single time that you can, and you can only use it under 20% health. This does so much damage, I'm not even kidding. And as long as the target dies within 5 seconds and you get experience or honor from it, you get your 3 soul shards back. So you pretty much have this endless like rotation of never having to run out of soul shards, which is great. So Soul Burn every 45 seconds. Make sure you use a macro with it. That means you're opening with your target. You already have 8%. And then I'm going into my Immolate. I'm going to Conflag it. And then I'm going to slam. If it's not dead, Shadow Burn. If it's when you fight like an elite, you might get an extra fucking Chaos Bolt off or something. That's about it. Bane is nice. I don't really actually take this while leveling. I don't know why I have it here, but I'm going to put it here because I already know someone in the comments is going to be like, yeah, what about Bane of Havoc? I'm telling you right now, leveling 1 to 80, you are not going to... I can't imagine a time where you're going to have a value out of a Bane. You can fight more than one target, throw Bane on the... or throw Havoc on the off target and blow up the main target. And then, I mean, I guess you can get value out of it. I guess I sound stupid on that one. I personally just never used it, but yeah, it's there. And also Shadow Fury. Shadow Fury does about the same amount of damage as Shadow Burn, so it's pretty nice. It obviously does the same thing. Instant cast, 20-second cooldown, does good damage, stuns the enemy. So it's just free damage. I use it while running a lot, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then as I was talking about with the glyphs, Chaos Bolt, Conflag, and then Immolate. The thing about Immolate is I do like using Immolate. Some people like to use Imp. The problem with Imp is he's not getting that many firebolts off unless you're leveling past 80. Once you get to 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, I guess they're not leveling at 85, but 81, 2, 3, and 4, your imp does do a good amount of damage. And so it's not bad to go imp if you want to go imp, but the problem is you want to go immolate as well. So it's kind of like, which one do you want to go out of that? You can drop Chaos Bolt off because Chaos Bolt doesn't do that much damage, to be honest, as you'll see. So you can drop Chaos Bolt for imp if you want as well. Obviously, it doesn't matter about your major glyphs or your minor glyphs. Glyph live taps kind of mandatory just to be quicker. Soul Link helps you because it adds 5% to your Soul Link, and then you have Soul Stone for Soul Stoning yourself. You can also use Shadow Flame because Shadow Flame is a 70% movement reduction when you're just trying to get away from somebody, an enemy, or if you're on a PvP server. If there is even PvP servers nowadays, like, is there even a realm that has equal balance? I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, that's about it for these. Don't matter at all. So that's about it for Destro. Yeah. So let's jump to the next one, which is going to be your dungeon cleaving one. So this is what I would run for dungeon cleaving. This is at 79, by the way. It's going to be almost exactly like your PvE raid spec. The literally only difference is that I use Aura of Foreboding, which is when your Hannah Gul'dan lands, all enemies within 4 yards will be rooted for 3 seconds, and then stunned for that same 3 seconds if they're still in that aura for 6 seconds afterwards. This is a big deal when dungeon cleaving because you are more than likely pulling a bunch of mobs up. You Hannah Gul'dan the first mob that you can. You're sending your pet in there. You're Fellstorming. You're doing your normal like AoE rotation, pop meta, do all that. But when those 1,000 mobs you're pulling at once are in there for 6 seconds, it's a fat stun. This is very helpful when we're doing dungeon cleaving because there's a shit ton of casters in Blackrock Caverns, Stone Core, or whatever order you're going in, right? And that stun breaks that. Like they do stuns, charges, cast, whatever. 6 seconds later, that goes off. They're stunned for 3 seconds. So it's pretty nice. And then also, this helps in open world as well. Not so much if you're leveling 1 to 80 with this, but once you're 81, 2, 3, and 4 in Cataland, it helps because you will be fighting things longer than 6 seconds, most of the time. So you get to give a free stun, which, like I said, is helpful for the same reasons. The only thing I'm not taking is I only put 1 point in here because it's enough to keep your pet healed up. You're also able to just quickly get a new pet because if he dies, you have Demonic Rebirth, which lets you get another pet out instantly, instant cast, as long as you do it within 10 seconds. You'll see like your action bars glow when that happens. You also have Master Summoner, which makes your, a 4-second summon? 3.5, I don't know how long the summon is, 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds. It's really fast. And then obviously you have Soul Burn, which when you use Soul Burn, once again, even as this spec, I like to use it with Soulfire. But even if you don't, you can use it to get an instant cast pet off. So I don't really care too much about my pet that much. A lot of times when he's close to dying, I like just let him die so then I can just use Demonic Rebirth and get a new pet out, full health, all that shit. I don't take Demonic Empowerment. This is a common mistake, I guess people are saying. I see a lot of guys out there telling you to use this. There's no point. It was significantly nerfed in comparison to Lich King. It does no damage. If you have your Felguard out, it just removes all the stun, snare, fear, banish, and horror and impairing effects from your Felguard and makes him immune to it for 15 seconds. Pretty worthless, in my opinion. And if you happen to use Spell Hunter, it dispels all magical effects from the Spell Hunter. More of a PvP talent. I just despise it. There's no reason to take it. I'd much rather put that point into, Fel Synergy over here. And then you have Improved Health Funnel. I don't health funnel at all for the reasons that, I mean, I do occasionally, but like I rarely ever health funnel for the reason of Demonic Rebirth, Master Summoner, Soul Burn, Summon a Pet out, Fel Synergy, like you just don't need it. And then I'm taking everything else in the tree pretty much. Like you just Hannah Gul'dan, obviously you want that. You want your Impending Doom, you want your, Molten Core. Pay attention to your Molten Core procs. The thing is when you're in the open world, it matters more. But when you're dungeon cleaving, all you're really single targeting is the bosses. So, which we'll talk about in a second with the glyphs, because I would change some around. Yeah, you still have your decimation. Yeah, they give all this stuff, which doesn't help too much. Decimation kind of is nice because a lot of the times, like in Blackrock Cavern or Stone Core, for example, you will pull a shit ton of mobs. And in Stone Core, you have these big, huge, brute elite dudes who crack, right? And they have way more health than the mobs. So you can just do your AoE rotation, and when you see them about to die, snipe a decimation off a mob that's under 25%, and then slam Soulfires into the boss. I mean, not the boss, but into the big ad. So it's kind of helpful. Demonic Pact, whatever. Inferno's nice, because this is what lets you Hellfire while moving. This buffs your Hellfire up. Meta's obviously important. And in my last 3 points, or my 3 points at 79, I put it into Shadow and Flame, which doesn't help too much it helps significantly when you're leveling in the open world, but it doesn't help too much when you're dungeon cleaving, besides on bosses or in the example I just gave you with the brutes, right? But it's still nice. So where else do you need to put the talents? Now, your next talents, this is spicy because I'm going to do something that I don't see a lot of people do. And because I don't incinerate much, I'm going to use Corruption, right? And then I'm going to put 3 points in here. Big reason for that is obviously it does 12% more corruption. You have a lot of time to put up corruptions while you're running, whether the tank's gathering mobs or you have mobs and you guys are on the run and it's like 2 or 3 mobs, and yeah, you can Hellfire, but you can also put corruptions up on them, 3, 4, 5 mobs while you're running to the next pack, and then Hellfire while you're doing it. That's pretty nice because you get free Shadow Bolts off and you just slam Shadow Bolts while you're running. It's just free damage. This is completely subjective. You can put these points into here if you want to put the points into there. I don't care about these points because I'm not casting Shadow Bolt, I'm not casting Chaos Bolt, and I don't care about that half a second on Immolate at all. If it's a boss where I need to worry, one, the boss isn't in normal raids. A lot of people are going to dungeons. A lot of people are going to Blackrock Caverns, Stone Core. Those bosses, you put one Immolate up, and if you have to refresh it, your hand will go down, will refresh it for you, right? Because of the, where's it at? Cremation talent. So I don't care about this talent that much. You can also put it in the Immolate, which is where, that's what my tree looks like at 85. Like I go here and then I'm going straight into Immolate because Immolate does do a lot of damage. You won't do it too often, but you will do it on bosses. Now, once again, if you're leveling from 80 to 85, beautiful. This is a lovely talent that you can run this all day and be happy. You can even go like this if you want and switch this back to Incinerate, or you can just keep it over there and run it as Shadow. You can do whatever you want with this. Just have fun with it. But this is what I'm going to do build-wise for Dungeon Cleaving, which I'm personally going to do as soon as it launches over on Twitch at twitch.tv/CrickStripes. For Glyphs, Metamorphosis is mandatory. Immolate, I wouldn't say Immolate's mandatory. It's just more like what else you're going to do with it. Like you do Immolate the bosses, and then you have Corruption. The one thing that I would say is either Corruption or Incinerate, depending on if you're in the open world. And then Dungeon Cleaving, personally, that's what I like. However, Glyph of Felguard can get a little shout out here because you will be using Felguard a majority of the time that you're leveling in the Dungeon Cleaving outside of bosses where you would just, let him do his Fellstorm, which I would suggest. I don't like Fellstorming on bosses because I know that the boss is going to die in 20 seconds and then we're going to go to the next trash pack, and I want to make sure Fellstorm's off cooldown. A lot of the problems that we have with Fellstorm is people will blow Fellstorm on a 6-pack and pump, and then your next pack has 15,000 mobs in it. Then you're sitting there looking stupid with no Fellstorm. So it's like, but I do like this. This doesn't affect Fellstorm. That was a side tangent, but it gives 5% to Legion Strike, which is the Cleave. So it's kind of nice. So you can definitely run that instead of Immolate, because once again, if you're nonstop holding W, you're not going to be able to put up Immolates, and then just do your normal major glyph. So one thing that I would say is I swapped Glyph of Soulstone for Glyph of Shadow Flame, which is not mandatory by any means. I just like the extra 70% movement slow while we're dungeon cleaving. It's pretty nice, especially if a lot of the time we're doing massive pulls. Shadow Flame's on cooldown, and the tank has to kite around, so it's pretty cool. So I like Shadow Flame personally. Once again, that's just me. Feel free to run Soulstone if you want. And you can also, mana's not an issue, but some people run Glyph of Shadow Bolt if you're running like the whole like Corruption Nightfall thing. And I guess if you didn't know, this gives you Nightfall for those wondering why I ran it. Minor glyphs don't matter. Lastly, for Affliction, this is strictly for not dungeon cleaving, because if you're dungeon cleaving as Affliction, you're trolling. But if you're dungeon cleaving, you just run this. This is for open world, 1 to 80 or 1 to 85 if you want to do it. This is just a very powerful spec. I love this spec for leveling. If I'm leveling in Kata, questing, PvP, anything, I'm 100% going Affliction. It is so much fun. Just the basic talents, your Doom and Gloom, Life Tap, everything. Jinx is not important, but you do need points to drop down further at some point. And plus, this kind of can be helpful because if you're pulling, let's say there's 3 mobs in front of you and you dot to, you know what I mean? Let's say there's 3 mobs in front of you, you soul swap to the 3rd one, and then you can Jinx, and it puts cursor of elements on all of them if you wanted to. So it's not a big deal. It'd be helpful if you're running dungeons, if you decide to do a couple dungeons while you're leveling as well. And then just the normal stuff. I don't take Curse of Exhaustion. I don't care about it. If you're leveling in the open world, you can, or maybe even a PvP thing, then go ahead and run it. But I personally don't. You have free points to do whatever you want with it. I don't care about Improved Fear either. It's just not worth it to me. I don't care about Improved Howl of Terror. It's not worth it to me. Everything else I'm taking. The only thing I want to caveat here is Soulburn, Seed of Corruption. Obviously, if you use Soulburn, like I said, I use it with Soulfire, even as Affliction. But if you're not, you can put on Seed of Corruption. This is still great for, obviously, dungeon cleaving. But this is really great for outside world because there's a lot of times that you can pull mini mobs. You can pull 3, 4 mobs in your little running distance that you're used to doing. And then when you get close, Soulburn, Seed of Corruption 1, it'll just corruption them all for you. So it's like you have 4 mobs in front of you, just UA, do whatever you want for them. Throw a Soulburn, Seed of Corruption, they blow up, you're good to go. My remaining points is going to Dark Arts. This is for obvious reasons of your absolutely broken Fell Hunter. 15% increased damage on Shadow Bite. It's very nice. I'm not going to talk about it. The 1 point into here is just strictly for your healing. And what you do next with your points is completely up to you. If you're leveling in the open world, I really like Shadow and Flame. This is just to make your Shadow Bolt do 12% more damage. You will be Shadow Bolting. You don't Shadow Bolt as often, but you will be doing it. And plus you have Nightfall. And then you have Glyph of Corruption, which is another 4% chance. This doesn't, as far as I know, this doesn't stack to 8%. Like you have 4% and 4%. So you have 4% chance to get the free shadow, the instant cast Shadow Bolt twice, rather than it being an 8% chance. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. That probably sounds stupid, but I hope, if you know, you know. Other than that, I really like this talent. I also really like this one because you're casting it as well. That's completely up to you on this one. I would just say mandatory is just these three and then these three, and then do whatever you want with the other two. Obviously, don't put it here because you're UAing, and UA and Immolate don't stack right. Glyphs, Corruption, just for the extra Nightfall. You will use UA a lot, and Haunt's pretty nice too. I don't like casting that much, to be honest with you. Not a big fan of Haunt. I'm trying to run and gun. I'm not trying to cast, but you know, that's whatever. You can also swap this for anything that you want in here. And just nothing's really going to get you that value. I don't like Bane and Agony because people aren't living that long. But you definitely can if you want to. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh, make sure you pick up Soul Swap as your glyph instead of glyph of Soulstone too. Obviously, this makes it so when you, without this glyph, like if you do not have this glyph, when you use Soul Burn, you have an inhale and an exhale, right? So you inhale the dots from one mob and you exhale it onto another one. If you inhale it, it removes the Soul Swap. But if you have the glyph, it makes it so it stays on there. So you're just copy pasting, all right? Yeah, I think that's it. I'm trying to think of anything else. I know I'm gonna get yelled at for talking so fast right now, but oh, you guys hear that jet above me? Jesus. There's like an air show or something around my house the past 3 days, and it's been non-stop fighter jets just zooming by. One flew by the other day, and it literally shook my entire house. It was crazy. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait till it flies away, and then yeah. Normally I would edit this part of the video, but since I'm just free running this one, enjoy. You know? Yeah, but I'm really excited to level. I think Cat is a lot of fun. Warlock is, I've only leveled Warlocks really, but like I feel like Warlock has to be one of the most fun classes to level. It really has to be one of the most fun ones to level, man. It's a blast. Like being able to use all these specs, which are so good. Like I said, I like Destro 1 to 80, then switching to Affliction. Doing some dungeons as Destro or Demo, it's amazing. For dual spec, I would just put whatever you're gonna do. Most of you guys watching are gonna go 80 to 85, and I almost didn't even include the 1 to 80 in this or in the thumbnail. But if you're going 80 to 85, I would just go Affliction and Demonology. Affliction for open world, Demonology when you do the dungeons. Best of both worlds. Have a blast playing and just enjoy it. You know, guys. Like I said, I will do a better scripted normal one of my videos for this, for a leveling guide proper, in maybe a few days if anybody wants it. Once again, just let me know in the comments. If I don't get anybody in the comments saying they want one, I'm probably not going to do one because it's kind of brain dead leveling. If you're still here, I have a ton of, I'm already working on the raid guides. I've already got footage from the raid, all the PTR testing. I've rated this all 3 specs successfully. I'll do a spec guide for each of them, even Destruction boys. I know the Destruction fans out there always get mad because none of the content creators make Destruction videos besides Pummel. Pummel always says, shout out Pummel, by the way. Go check out Pummel's channel. I'll put one of his videos on the screen, I think, if I remember to do it when I'm done editing. He's got some good Cata. He's always had some good Warlock videos, but he's working on his Cata ones too right now. Oh, yeah, but now I'm just rambling and wasting your guys' time. Good luck out there, my friends. We'll see you later. Check out the stream. I'll be streaming nonstop with the boys. Yeah. Peace.